Um, the problem with trading in the capital markets is that it doesn't make as much money as it used to. Right? That's the problem. And that's a major problem if you're a poor Forex trader and you have to accept only $1 million a year, which is obviously a nightmare. But it's also a problem if you're trying to run an organisation where you're sitting on return on equity which is below the cost of capital because you're in a business, and where the cost of regulation has replaced the advantages from economies of scale. The net of that is that we will see in the next 5 years, for certain, different models which allow prime brokers, investment bankers, anybody around the trading life cycle to share cost in non-competitive areas. Let's call it a fact. It's dead certain it's going to happen. The industry's been talking about it for 25 years plus. One of the areas that's most expensive if you run a prime brokerage or an investment bank is IT. What Kunal is going to explain to us is how uTrade hopes to be in the middle of those sharing the costs in some way.
Thank you. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Kunal Nandwani. I'm the founder and CEO at uTrade Solutions. At uTrade, we build capital markets technologies, from trading platforms to algorithmic trading to risk management as well as portfolio analytics solutions. Prior to starting uTrade, I used to work with Lehman Brothers and Nomura for over 5 years in algo trading. At uTrade, in the past 3 years, we've got about 20 clients globally as well as 35 team members. Now, when we look at our client segment, which Julian quite kindly explained, we see some challenges in that segment. So firstly, the markets are fragmented. In order to trade any financial security, you need to connect to and go to various liquidity venues like exchanges. The regulation is increasing. You need to comply with more processes, you need to prove best execution, do various reportings, and that leads to a surge in technology costs. And at the same time, the number of trades, market volumes are not growing. They are actually 1/3 of the peak that we witnessed in 2008. So this leads to a big drop in the profit margins, and then the whole business model is in question. So if you take a step back and just look at some of the costs that these firms face, a typical tier 1 investment bank would be spending anywhere between $2 to $5 billion a year on their technology platform. And their technology platform is not much different from another one, in the most part. It's fairly commoditized. So what's the solution? We believe that financial firms should adopt open source. It has various benefits. It's free. License cost in open source is 0. It's flexible. You're not stuck with vendor lock-ins. You can choose to develop it yourself or bring in one of your partner firms to do it for you. It's resilient. More eyes looking at a piece of software code, more stable it gets. Classic example, Linux versus Windows. And the community drives the platform to different directions, and that leads to innovation. We realize it's a big mindset change. It's disruptive. It cannot happen straight away, especially when banks are firefighting with so many changes that are happening in the market. So this challenge reminds me of this image. Right? But actually, it's not so bad. In the last 3 months, we learned that banks actually do use a lot of open source across their technology stack. From the servers to programming, compilers, data stores, middleware, front office applications, that's the last mile they need to go. And by the way, that's where most of the budget is spent as well. And uTrade operates in this domain. One thing I do want to clarify is, higher up you go in the technology value chain, more important it becomes what's the functionality. Cost, flexibility are secondary. So having a credible product line is very important. There are other firms also operating in this domain. There are initiatives like OpenGamma, Lodestone, Eco Financial, and uTrade, and probably a few others. But when we came into this program, this was one of the challenges we had. All the banks have trading platforms that we've built. So one-to-one replacement is not straightforward. So where do we start? So we spent some time in realizing which are the commoditized technologies which are replaceable, which banks are willing to give up, and which we could do cheaper, faster, and more flexibly. So exchange connectivity is one area where you just connect to an exchange in order to trade. Post-trade clearing in the similar domain. All you need is just to make it happen. And if it's done open source, it helps the whole community. But at the same time, we are leading with some product innovation as well. We are looking at some of the products banks would need in the near future, like middleware for the cloud. As the bank's applications move to the cloud, how do they interact with each other? How easily they get integrated? Surveillance, we talked about the risk controls banks need to have in this algo trading driven world. So surveillance tool has to behave like an algorithm. These are some of the products that we have started a proof of concept with a few banks in the program. And there is a big roadmap that we have ahead of us. But it's important to see, how do we make money? After all, we are in this London city, right? We're here to make money. So basically, we inspire ourselves from the Red Hat model around Linux, where you build products as open source, but run an enterprise layer around them. And any open source is as good as its community. While we build the product set, and we already have 3 years of seeding technologies with us, we need to involve banks. Banks are the large adopters that we need along this path. But it takes time. Even though we've started 2 proof of concepts, we know it will take a long time for banks to move. Same time, we'll continue to work with our current client base, which is in emerging markets and tier 2 firms. So we are live with 20 clients, including brokers, stock exchanges, hedge funds, and in some emerging markets like Indonesia, Turkey, and Africa, we're getting more traction right now. We also realize that banks have thousands of applications. We cannot be building all of those. I don't think banks need thousands of applications. Many of them are there for the legacy reasons. But we need other technology partners to come on the platform and provide the technologies they do best. So we have initiated dialogues with a few other ISV firms as well. We believe the roadmap of setting up the open source and its growth may look something like this, where in the past 2-3 years, we've built some technologies. Now we're looking for more adoptions and contributions, and then in a couple of years' time, it should start to grow. Once again, I'm Kunal Nandwani, founder and CEO of uTrade, really passionate about open source. It's inevitable to avoid. It is going to happen. Please join us later to talk more around this. Thank you.